I know it's early, but I really like the guys that Auburn has offered in the transfer portal.
Freezing temperatures are likely for several hours inland and a few hours closer to the coast.
Yes.
You are Locked On Auburn, your daily podcast on the Auburn Tigers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Yes, welcome on into Locked On Auburn, your daily Auburn Tigers podcast. I'm your host, Zac Blackerby, and thank you so much for making Locked On Auburn your first listen every single day. Joining me as he does every single Tuesday. Happy Charlie Tuesday as Charlie 5, Auburn message board legend, joining us. And I think something cool happened yesterday, Charlie 5.
Ooh.
I think Hugh Freeze and the Auburn coaching staff offered the best player in the portal.
Really?
I think so. The more I look into this guy, the more I'm like, man, this guy could be really, really special. And it's the former freshman guard out of Wyoming.
How bland
is that? How bland is that? But, man, when you look at this Emanuel Pregnon guy, holy cow, is he good. What a name. What a dude. He's 6'6", 313 pounds.
Interior guy.
Freshman All-American. And he played all 625 of his snaps on offense were at right guard.
As a true freshman? Or as a redshirt freshman? Wow.
Yes. So.
Emanuel.
There's a lot to like about it. His offer list that he's tweeting out, it's like half the SEC at this point. A&M, I think Florida, Tennessee.
I saw Colorado. There's a bunch. He has a very good.
Yeah, Miami. It's all over the place. But this guy, it kind of fits what we thought would happen, right? When you look at the makeup of the offensive line, it's like 3 of the 5. Those 2 tackles and center that they've all brought in the last transfer portal window. Those guys, they didn't move. They didn't move at all through spring. And it's like those 2 guard spots, you got a feeling like Hugh really likes Tate Johnson. And Tate Johnson was mostly at right guard. So if they do get this guy, it'd be interesting to see who they move. But, I'm telling you right now, if this guy comes to Auburn, he will start over. I think he'd start over Jeremiah Wright and Tate Johnson.
Do you think that – I'm with you. Do you think that he's a priority over Muskrat considering the timing of the offers?
I think the relationship with Muskrat – and I kept saying Tulane yesterday. I get Tulane and Tulsa mixed up. I think I did the same thing when we hired Philip Montgomery. I think I said that he came from Tulane. I really struggle with mixing those 2 schools up, so my apologies. But Muskrat of Tulsa, I think he'd already been recruited by somebody on staff before. So I think that was a little bit more natural to kind of get in front of him and offer him. That's just my gut feeling. And also, this could go for both of these guys. We don't know. Just because they tweeted it out doesn't mean they were offered in that moment, right? Sure.
Exactly. We've been talking about that we expected at least one more interior guy from our roster to enter the portal, and I know we wanted to add at least one more interior guy. Clearly, it's going to be one or two of these guys. I don't think you get both of them, but clearly, these seem like your top two targets. So
I think if they both would come here, they'd take them both.
That's the thing, though. Do they both want to come here?
Don't you feel better about Muskrat? And we'll talk more about him in a second. But don't you feel more about him than Pregnon?
As far as coming to Auburn, or
yes.
Yeah, I would feel
likelihood of winning the recruiting battle. Yeah.
I think that one's probably going to be that one should be sort of like a lockdown situation where we should get him. I don't know if we got him and we're going to make a run at this Pregnon kid who seemingly scores great in Pro Football Focus, grades really well.
This dude, he was the 3rd highest offensive graded player on Wyoming. Take that for what it's worth. 73.9 offensive grade. That's solid. It's not great, but it's solid. Also, Wyoming. Can't stress that enough. 70, yes, right. 70.5 pass block grade, 74 run block grade. You would take that all day. Considering what we've dealt with the last few years. But still, the offer list speaks for itself. We talk about this with recruiting high school kids all the time. The offer list speaks for itself.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of SEC teams pushing them. He probably has one of the more decorated offer lists of guys in the portal right now, and it's early. We have so much time. We'll touch on why has it been so slow in a second. But this guy, I think whoever gets this kid early, I think will be one of the winners of this transfer portal period. I'm really high on him. Now, you brought up Jason Muskrat, and we talked about him a little bit yesterday. The Tulsa offensive lineman, similar size, 6'3", 300-ish pounds. Some people have it a little higher. Some people have it right at 300. But all of his snaps last year, and he's done a few things, right? Because he was a former defensive lineman, moved to the other side of the football. But all of his snaps last year, with the exception of two, well, even those were at tackle. They were at a tackle position.
Sure.
And so I do wonder, is he the backup tackle, or does he get a chance to compete for a guard spot? I think that's the more interesting conversation about Muskrat.
Yeah,
Assuming we get these guys. I just think I think he's destined for interior at Auburn. I don't see a situation where he's ever going to really fill in right now on the outside, unless it's a backup role or if there's an injury. Sure. You need interior guys. So Philip Montgomery probably. I mean, he knows his kid, so there's something he likes about him. Let's give it a run. Give it a run on him. Let's go. I will go ahead and lock. I got a feeling it's slow right now, and we're going to talk about that. But as this week progresses, it's going to heat up because there's really only one weekend that things got to pop off. So I hope we go ahead and get this kid on board because we do need another interior guy. Seems like a kind of a match. Unless this Pregnon kid, you can make a run at him. Yeah, but still, you take both of them if you can.
If you can, take both of them.
Take both of them. You either have an extra, you carry 17 scholarships on the offensive line, or you process a kid. You take both of them. They both make your roster better for different reasons, I believe. This other guy, Anthony Campbell, ULM edge / defensive end. And when you look at where he played for ULM last year, it was incredibly balanced all over the field. It'd be like he took 30 snaps at left outside linebacker. He took 30 snaps at left defensive end. He took 30 snaps at the left 4-eye technique, and then the same on the right side, 30, 30, 30. So we're incredibly balanced, incredibly versatile, and his PFF numbers are pretty solid. 72.9 defensive rating, which is above average. You take that in a heartbeat. 74.4 against the run, really low tackle grade, 61. That's not great. And then 69.4 in the pass rush. So, I mean, much better run stopper than anything else. But 6'7", 280 pounds is what PFF has him listed as. And I think Auburn would need that size. This says more strong side defensive end, Marcus Harris, Mosiah Nasili Kite backup than it does edge to me.
Yeah. But then again, I'm thinking this defense was atrocious that he played on. So how good is he really? How much do the stats really?
This could be a Marcus Bragg type thing. When we got Marcus Bragg last year, I thought he was terrible. I'm like, this guy isn't very good, and he blew me away last year.
They line this kid up all over the field. Does that say more about his versatility, or does that say? I mean, what does that say? Or they couldn't find a place to put him? Or
good point.
he has multiple talents. He can play, in multiple positions. I would not get caught up on his box score because it's not great. But you
can't do that for defensive line.
You can't. It's hard to do that for defensive linemen, and especially when they're giving up 40 points a game. So they're either something's going horribly wrong on that defense. So I love the size, 6'7", 280. Like if you can
stand up and put your hands in the air.
Stand up, stop the guy from pushing you and put your hands in the air. I mean, that's huge in and of itself. Yeah. So I don't dislike 6'7", 283-pound guys on my defensive line. So I say go get it.
Once again, this is kind of what we expected, right? And these are these are the kids that are tweeting out their offers, right? I'm sure other offers went out and kids are more private, which is everybody can handle that in different ways. I'm not judging that at all. In fact, I wish they all tweeted them out. I think it'd be great. But
easier to track for
no
sure.
Doubt. But when you look at the guys that they've offered so far, it's like, okay, it's guys in the trenches, which is kind of what we expected.
Right. And it's the position that I feel like you can replenish pretty quickly in the portal, and maybe our depth. We have a decent run of starters. Like we have our starting 5 or our starting 4 on the defensive line are pretty good. After that, you have some holes that you got to fill. And this is the portal is it's the greatest place that you can plug in dudes to help fill in the weak spots on your depth chart with quality players. It's not a high school freshman that needs 2 or 3 years to develop, those positions typically it's rare that you have one. You don't have Connor Lewis very often. So I like the moves. This is big, man. This is roster management. This is trenches. This is where we have lacked for so many years. And the priority and what's funny is you have an offensive head coach and it's not skilled dudes everywhere. It's trenches. We're building the trenches, and that should get you fired up because that tells you that's how the foundation is sort of built right there from the inside out. That's how you do it. And we're not leaving any stones unturned. We're definitely building these trenches up, building the walls. Love it.
So why has it been so slow? Surprised me, surprised Charlie 5. It probably surprises you. Let's discuss that in just a moment, right here on Locked On Auburn. Another thing that surprises me is how fun it is to get in on the action at FanDuel. FanDuel Sportsbook, America's leading and number one sportsbook. Grand slams, no hitters, and double plays. They are back, and there's no better place to get in on the MLB action than FanDuel, America's number one sportsbook. This is because right now new customers can step up to the plate with a no-sweat first bet up to $1,000. Just go to FanDuel.com/lockedon to sign up and place your first bet. You literally can't lose. There's no reason not to do it. FanDuel, the official partner of Major League Baseball. Charlie 5 hanging out with us as he does every single Tuesday. The process of everything, it's been slower than I expected. I expected a mass exodus on Saturday. And I'm like, okay, they're doing meetings or whatever. Then I expected it on Sunday. Didn't happen. And then I'm told on Sunday that there's going to be a lot of like one-on-one meetings. And I got a little clarification on that I'll share in a second. And so I'm like, okay, Monday it's going to happen. We're going to have like a bunch of guys leave. And then as we record this at 9 o'clock at night, no one has entered the portal from Auburn's point of view since Jeffrey and Tavares Dawson did it earlier in the weekend. So these one-on-one meetings, Charlie 5, it sounds like they're between the player and the player's position coach. And I'm not entirely sure if like Hugh is telling the position coaches what to say or if he's just trusting them to handle it. I didn't really get clarification on that, but I was told that some tough conversations were being had. And I also I was told that there was a lot of really solid, positive reviews as well.
I am blown away. Someone told me, hey, last year the spring portal work was slow the exact same way. And I was like, and I'm like, yeah, but it's completely different. Last December or 2 Decembers ago, the portal was not the same as it was this past December. So I'm blown away. I'm gonna be honest. Like I thought, and it's not just Auburn. It's not just Auburn. There's not. I mean, I can't think of a high profile commit anywhere. Can you? Like, who is a high profile portal person that's committed anywhere?
You've seen a few that's like there was a story that came out like about Vandergriff, the Georgia quarterback, talking about possibly transferring, but it's all like talk.
No, but I'm saying like nobody's committed anywhere, it seems like. I mean, I'm sure there's committed. Committed anywhere. Like I'm sure there's like a random one you could probably point to, but by and large, like nobody. Mm-hmm. I don't know if it has to do with like when spring games are. Like maybe some people have later spring. I don't know.
But a lot were this past weekend, and there's several this weekend too. Yeah.
So, but then they're still. I keep pushing out today. It's got to happen. Like there was Tipton edits posted. He had like double-digit commitment graphics ready to go, and like none of those have gone off, have they? Or whoever does the edits for the football kids. Like none of that's really happened. So I have no idea what's going on. I have no idea what's going on. It's kind of blowing my mind.
I'm sure when it does start, though, it'll be pretty tremendous, I think.
And it's also weird that the way it started, so like it falls on where it like started on a random day and doesn't end and ends on like a Monday.
Or Saturday ends on a Monday. Yeah.
Yeah. So there's like not 2 full weekends of visits. So like this weekend will be really the only weekends of visits that you can possibly have. So maybe this weekend.
Unless like, the window is when you can enter the portal. You don't have to make your decision. Yeah. But in the fall, there was more of a sense of urgency because you had to get on campus quicker to enroll in spring classes so you could go through spring at your new school.
Sure.
There's less urgency because I think you can don't summer classes not start until like late May?
Maybe even early June. So, I mean, I guess you're right.
So there's less urgency. I'm sure we'll see a lot of guys enter the portal and take their time, I guess. But, yeah, because there's several dudes. I'm like, why wouldn't you give yourself the most amount of time possible to, like, find your best new fit?
Yeah.
But I don't know. That must not be –
And here's another thing that could be happening. So you're talking about hard conversations. Like, are coaches holding out? Having those conversations so that kids don't leave? Like, are coaches not divulging depth charts, or they're going to wait until the last minute to have those conversations about, hey, who's my starter, who's this, so that kids don't leave? Are coaches playing defense? You know what I mean? Like, is that a possibility?
I think that makes sense in some places. Like if you had a top 10 roster, I think that makes sense. If you're in Ohio State, if you're in Alabama, if you're in Georgia, sure. If you're Texas A&M at this point, like, sure, I get all that. Auburn shouldn't be.
No, I agree.
I mean, Auburn needs to flip this roster. So I get that in some cases. I don't get that in most cases. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and there again, I think you can't. I don't want to say it can't be tampering, but like they got to have an idea of what they want to do, but still that person has to be in the portal before you can make any other move. So like,
that is the interesting part of this, right?
Because I don't think you can go ahead.
Well, it's just, I mean, if you think about a guy that's like, that you would consider processing, I have no inside information here. I'm just throwing out like a guy that's his upside's like too deep, like Dylan Brooks. And it's like, if you tell a guy that's the caliber of like a Dylan Brooks or like who's a backup offensive lineman? Garner Langlow? I don't know.
Sure. Yeah.
Somebody like that. Heck, even like a Tarvarish Dawson, I guess. Sounds like Tarvarish Dawson left on his own accord. But it's like, if you talk to a guy that's like that, like you don't know if anybody better than him is going to come. Like you just you don't know that at this point. And so I'm sure that may be part of it.
I'll say this. It does seem like I would think that if nobody's in the portal yet from Auburn, that everybody wants, then those people want to stay. Would you say that's pretty accurate? Like if you haven't already gone in the portal, you probably want to stay. Would you say is that a fair?
I think under the assumption that the roster stays the same. Sure.
Yeah.
Sure. I mean, we talked about this with TJ before. And in fact, TJ Finley is on Locked On SEC today. And something that he tells Chris Gordy is he's considering the portal. And we've talked about this in another like media availability thing that he did. He's like, he's not sure that he would take a reserve role, right? And we're seeing that throughout college football. Brock Vandagriff said a similar thing in Georgia. And so, if you're a guy like that, are you waiting for another quarterback to come to Auburn and then you enter the portal? I think that looks kind of bad if you do it that way, but like I get why you would do that.
Right. Yeah, I'm with you. I'm just like, I'm still like nothing has played out like I thought it would play out. So
yeah,
I'm thinking there's got to be some sort of explosion, kind of like the chip has to fall, and then everybody starts flooding in. Like it may just take like one big person to go, and it could be a domino effect. But it's been so slow, and like you can't help but feel. And I get people's perspective here. You kind of feel like, hey, what are we doing? We're not doing things that we need to be doing. We're not at what's going on, because we don't see things happening, but we have no idea what's been going on, like what players are talking with what players and stuff like that. So I think you just got to, I mean, is not fun as it is. You just we got to be patient and see what happens. I just don't necessarily think there's really room to panic quite yet.
All right, yeah, so let's talk about it. Let's kind of predict what the next few days to the next week will look like coming up right here on Locked On Auburn. I want to encourage you to join the Locked On Auburn Discord. It is free. All you have to do is click the link in the episode description down below. So let's start with the caveat. We've been wrong about this portal period every single day. I still believe that a lot of these one-on-one meetings between Auburn's coaching staff and these players sounds like most of them happened yesterday. I assume the rest of them will happen today.
Sure.
And I would think in response to that, you would see guys enter in the next 48 hours. I would think. If I was a player that was a reserve player, and they're like, yeah, you're probably not going to play here. You may want to look somewhere else. I would probably enter the portal within the next 48 hours, if that was something that was important to me. Now, if you just want to stay at Auburn, be a student athlete, live like a king for another 2 or 3 years, I don't blame you at all. Don't blame you at all. Now, if the coaching staff's like, we need your scholarship, that's a different thing. But yeah, so I guess I'm going to say the same thing that I've been saying, and I think I'll eventually be right, Charlie 5, but I'm still expecting it either today or tomorrow for a lot of guys to hit the portal.
No, it's got to be. I mean, the clock's ticking. I mean, it's got to be. But then again, we've been wrong. Like we said, we'd have a quarterback commit today or yesterday. Sorry, we said by Monday we wouldn't be surprised if we'd have a quarterback commit, a new quarterbacks, and I don't even know how many new ones have entered the portal since we talked. So,
not many that are like that would make sense to go get. You know,
right. So something's got to give. Like something's got to give. You said conversations are being had. We know that's happening. The clock is ticking, and Auburn has positions that they have to fill. And so far, publicly, we only have 3 offers out there. So, like,
but it's safe to assume we have more than that, right?
Well, is it? Like, why would kids not? I mean, that's like a thing now. Like, you put it out there. I mean, maybe we do. I'm sure.
But they're not recruiting 16 and 17-year-olds anymore.
That's true.
They're recruiting 20, 21-year-old guys that some of them may – be close to starting families. Some of them, you're a different person when you're 21 than you are when you're 17.
That's true. And that is actually a very good point. But
well, thank you.
But still, it's like it does seem like, man, something's got to pick up fast, and I think it will. It doesn't really have the option. It's got to. It's just a matter of, does it happen tomorrow or like over the weekend?
It could happen Sunday after everybody finishes their spring games. And it could happen Sunday.
And there could be a lot of stuff that's already like sort of, I don't want to say done behind closed doors, but like there could be some players that have talked to each other, some high school coaches that have talked to players, whatever. Whose
spring game is Saturday?
Whose spring game?
Duke. Any thoughts on that?
I'll tell you what. Just come on home, buddy.
I'm just going to watch that one. I'm telling you that right now.
We're going to watch. I would. If I could pick any quarterback, that's who it would be. I have no I have no inkling to think that he's actually going to go into the portal. And I said before, if he was my son, I'd probably tell him he's dumb if he wanted to leave Duke.
We're talking about Riley Leonard.
Riley Leonard. He is a dream quarterback. He would be a dream quarterback for this system. But yes,
he would be really loved here.
Yeah, I think he would be loved just from one individual person who's already here, right? I mean, supposedly he's got a
little significant other action going on
here. So it's hopefully that stays undefeated and recruits him here to Auburn.
We'll see. Charlie 5, how can people check out everything that you've got going on?
Absolutely. Find me on Twitter at @the_Charlie_5, on the Locked On Auburn Discord every single day. Auburn, AU Live, the corner message board, or Monday, Wednesday, Friday on the Dad Bod Golf Pod.
You can follow me on socials at Zac Blackerby. Read all my written work at auburndaily.com, and we will see you tomorrow. This has been Locked On Auburn.